Our third settlement attempt is known as Santa Elena, and it's going to be set up in 1566 by the Spanish. Spain and France had started to kind of develop a rivalry over who would control the most settlements in the New World. And as Spain lands in Florida, they called La Florida, the French started kind of ransacking their shipments in this kind of lucrative shipping area. So the Spanish king is going to decide that it's in his best interest to set up colonies kind of all along here to protect those routes. So he appoints a guy as governor named Pedro Menendez de Aviles, but just known as Pedro Menendez. I'll show you what he looks like here. There's La Florida. Here he is. Quite a good-looking guy, giving somebody the stink eye, I guess. And they're going to land actually in Paris Island, right where Charles IV was set up. And they're going to build on that site that had been abandoned by Jean Ribault and the other guys that ended up in cannibalism. When we originally found it in an archaeological dig, we thought we'd found Charles IV. We didn't really know a whole lot about the Spanish involvement and realized that the site that we'd found was really remnants of the old fort that they built on Paris Island on top of Charles IV. There's some shards of pottery that they noticed there. So landing in Paris Island, they're going to build right on top of, like I said, Charles IV, kind of outside of Hilton Head. And the settlement attempt is much more successful than Charles IV. Obviously, one, because they didn't end up eating any human beings, but two, it lasts longer. In 1566, when they first came, they're going to bring more and build more people and build a fort that they called San Felipe. Just 2 years in, they're already up to 225 settlers, including farmers, Catholic missionaries, families, and they actually grow the kind of township up to about 40 houses outside the central plaza. But that doesn't mean that things kind of went easily. It lasts for a total of 21 years, but all 21 years are kind of a struggle there. In the fort, they struggle with poor soil. And logically, they could kind of move out and set up farms, maybe not so close to the coastline, but they did not establish great ties with the Native Americans there. The Orista and the Guale tribes really didn't care for them. So if colonists kind of ventured out, they risked being killed by the Native Americans. By 1571, they had experienced fire in the fort, so San Felipe, the fort of Santa Elena, the town, which was sort of the capital of La Florida, that's what their goal was, it gets burnt to the ground. Native Americans continue to attack, and as they send in more colonists to the fort, they're bringing with them deadly sicknesses and diseases. So not an easy time of it, to say the least. By 1571, they're really kind of moving people out and back to St. Augustine down in Florida because they realize that they can't feed the people that they have there. They're going to abandon it or leave it kind of down to like 45 people, soldiers in Santa Elena, and then kind of try to come back. It's never really successful. And by 1587, they basically order it to be completely shut down and move back into Florida. And part of that reason is not only are they competing with France by that point, they're also competing with England, who's setting up, of course, what we know now as the 13 colonies of the United States. So there was a third attempt. This is the second by the Spanish at Santa Elena. It was more successful than their previous ventures in South Carolina, but not successful. Of course, the next one will be what we call Charleston.